Hey guys, so welcome back. We've heard a lot of this term media play in this ongoing battle between Min Hee-jin and Hybe. A lot of Min Hee-jin and her supporters are constantly accusing Hybe of running a media play, stop with the media play. And where are the examples? There are no examples of their media play. The closest that I could see was when she did her first press conference. Hybe announced that they had found some messages tying her to her shaman. But other than that, Hybe has been extremely quiet, extremely media averse, probably as a strategy to be quiet at this point and let things ride out in public opinion, because I think they have the advantage of time here. But what is a media play exactly, and are we seeing it from Min Hee-jin? Is it possible for it to happen in Korea, in the sense that are there actual agencies that you can pay to help you with this? And what are some examples of it? We've seen some crazy example that I think is more attention getting, but not the actual meat and potatoes of a media play, in the horrible mistake that these bots seem to have made in commenting on the latest Dior campaign by one of the New Jeans members, Hae-in, and it actually mistook Hae-in for Hae-in. And so all of the bots were saying yay, Hae-in, yay, Hae-in. And no bunny, as far as I know, would ever mistake the two. And so there was some digging, and it looked like the accounts that were making these cheering statements were they looked like fake profiles. So that's one that's a little bit more mild, but because it's Dior and because it's New Jeans and because it's Hae-in or Hae-in, then that I think is kind of a bright example. But we're gonna go into some real dark examples. So what we've seen from Min Hee-jin's persona in the press conferences is that, she's just this struggling one-woman show, and she's just working with her lawyers to get her truth out, to be able to protect the artists in New Jeans, and to be for artistic development and freedom in the K-pop industry, and to stop being bullied and copied from. But does it actually look like she's just a one-woman show doing this? It certainly, to many observers, does not. And I think from that whole Dior fiasco, it looks like definitely that was somebody dropping the ball on outsourcing the work at an agency to, put up the positive comments. And people and observers are saying that's a common bad practice that a lot of people do around the world, and people are even saying Hybe does it with some of its artists. I mean, that's for the netizens to dig up. But we do have evidence of Min Hee-jin saying that she is gonna use the press, she's gonna use the media, and have even a timeline for her media campaign, and even evidence of her saying she would call a press conference if she didn't get her way, and also in order to get her way. And it's actually not a secret that she is working with a marketing firm, because both of the press conferences were announced by a top tier marketing agency here in Korea. They sent out the announcement to all of the reporters. So the question is, did she just hire this marketing firm just to organize her press conferences, or was there a lot more involved? Did she get the whole VIP 360-degree package, like messaging strategy, even writing the scripts, coming up with the concept of her wardrobe, and even going for what kind of persona and who she's appealing to, because a lot of these agencies focus on market research. They know who they're going to target and why, and how to get there through non-traditional means. And the question is that did this firm or a firm like it, or any kind of help in that aspect, assist along with all of the strange, weird coincidences that we saw? So, for example, one thing that would be definitely ripe for investigation that could come out of this kind of, I'll call it a dark marketing PR firm campaign. Not that the entire firm is dark, but that campaign where they sent the funeral wreaths to Hybe, that would fall into it. So we're not criticizing that company as well, or the people who work in it, because I briefly worked in that world as well, and I could see, you go where the client is, or even if you have, let's say, a different political belief, you work at your job. But the difference here is, and I think this is only for Hybe to answer, because I think Hybe, it wouldn't be surprising if Hybe had also hired this firm in the past. Everybody, there's only a handful, maybe 10 firms that you go to for different purposes, and everybody hires each other. And so sometimes you're like, oh, that sucks. You're working for our competitor and you're promoting their competing product and not mine. But this went a little bit beyond that, I think, because this is not just going to serve your client, Min Hee-jin, for a competing product. It's really like a bloody battle crossing the line, where you are helping one of, if I'm Hybe's perspective, saying you're helping one of my own employees steal part of my company, part of the overall Hybe, company, with the sub-label unit Adore, and one of our top artists. And so I think the question being is whether this crossed the line or not. To me, the simple litmus test is whether Hybe would hire this marketing firm again, or do they think that after that, that's just way too much betrayal. We just can't trust you anymore. This is not just a simple thing about okay, well, in this campaign you worked for our competitor, and then in the next campaign after you're done with that, maybe you could come work for us. It's a little bit beyond that, I would think, if I were them. But I think that does show a line, and whether that this was appropriate or not appropriate. Okay, so speaking of marketing firms, I'm saying marketing firm as a general definition, where I think people can understand it, but then even still it needs definition. And also, this firm in particular that Min Hee-jin hired for her press conference would never say, I think, that they would be a marketing firm. They call themselves more like strategy consultants. But then that gets confusing with, my thinking is McKinsey or Deloitte or Bain and Company. No, those are strategy consulting companies where they help you do the actual business, run the factories, make sure that your business is all set and have that strategy. But even if your business is all set, if you don't have marketing and advertising, then you can't reach your customers. So that's why there's another set of experts that come in to help you. Now, underneath this whole marketing agency, PR, advertising world, the simplest way that I'd like to make an analogy of it is that it's not advertising and it's not traditional PR. What she hired was what they call non-market strategy, or essentially this is more PR that is public affairs. That's the fancy title, but it really is more about public opinion or influencing people in power. It focuses on the power to make decisions. So if you kind of imagine like vegetables or fruit, advertising is more like artificial in the sense that, so it's like an artificial fruit. Why? Because you're literally paying to be in front of somebody's attention and then advertise your product. And so in that way, in the old world, the old way of saying this is kind of like, it's not that trustworthy because you bought the trust. So that's why I say it's a little bit artificial. Because it didn't earn its way in front of you, and you basically paid for that message. Although ironically now that seems to me the most honest way these days because it's just an advertisement that they're trying to sell you something. But in terms of like they're trying to build trust with the customer and get their message across, but buying that opportunity, like kind of like buying a date is not, is artificial. Then the next level is traditional PR, which essentially is the goal is that, let's say that fruit, I would call it natural fruit. So it's more of a natural way of it coming to your attention through news articles, or if you see it on like the evening news, a reporter took the information. Yes, it was given definitely by the publicist of that company, but it's a little bit more natural because they're supposed to be analyzing it in a way where the reporter is serving the public with a balanced view of, creating a story. And in a way that's a little bit more natural because the company is trying to create a genuine relationship with the public, their customers or investors, and get their message across and make sure like, like I want you to know what I'm doing. Now, if you look at the next level, which is what I call organic or super organic, without an agency. These are people, real people just responding. So like, you and me, people responding, and people who are grassroots, like, it could be nonprofit organizations, it could be individuals, it could just be people with opinions who truly have a passion to communicate some message. And that's super organic because it's not even coming from the company. So that you should trust more because it's not the company trying to give you either an advertisement or trying to influence a reporter to get, these messages to you. It's like your neighbor, or it's your mom and dad, or it's a friend, or just people on the internet. So that's one of the most powerful ways to build public opinion because it seems to be the most honest and real. So if there are a lot of people just kind of saying in the public space that, they either support Min Hee-jin or not support Min Hee-jin, or love New Jeans or not, then you believe that more than, let's say, advertising and sometimes what's on the news. But where this sort of firm comes in that Min Hee-jin hired for the press conference, not saying that she hired it for everything else, this is when it gets to be a little shady. Maybe not illegal, but the reason why it would make you feel uncomfortable and that it was super shady is that back to the organic fruit part, if you're looking at, this is all just like organic blueberries and raspberries, but what these firms try to do is try to sneak in jelly beans and make you not notice that jelly beans, basically artificial messages, really manipulated messages, trying to make you think a certain way, is hiding out amongst the natural, not even natural, super organic, because that's what you would trust the most. So in some ways, those, bot messages are probably the lowest hanging fruit, the easiest ways to do that. But if you are doubting, like, why did she bring up all of these other things about the album, chart manipulation, copying, bullying? So those are all sort of like grassroots type of emotions in a public debate that starts to tarnish and destroy Hybe's image while it elevates her own and also gives her a way to avoid any uncomfortable questions or conversations about any evidence that comes out from Hybe's side, because the media is so busy and public opinion is so busy, gobbling up these jelly beans thinking that they're, actual organic fruit. And I think when you look at, for example, an example of something like a real organic fruit that came out recently was that change.org petition against Min Hee-jin that said that, she was doing the most, and it kind of got a slow traction. It wasn't like an immediate success, like that shady thing about the whole funeral wreaths, just like hours after creating a Twitter account, and suddenly they got like tens of thousands of dollars to fund these funeral wreaths to Hybe. So it didn't happen fast like that. It happened slow, very organically, very natural. So it seems like you can really trust that these are truly the voices of ARMY fans around the world concerned about what's going on at Hybe. And now it's around 50,000 signatures, and the Korean media has picked up on it. And so that would be an example, and we don't even know who this person is, and this person's just doing it because out of the passion of, them trying to do that. Or it could be also a jelly bean, disguised. That would be an example. If it was a jelly bean and not an actual piece of organic fruit, then that would be an example of a media play from the other side. But it doesn't look like it is, because you know how like organic fruits and stuff, sometimes they have bugs eating out of it. It doesn't look nice and polished and perfect at all. I mean, this petition is not, no offense to the person who wrote the petition, but I think a lot of you also said, commented on it saying like, yeah, can we like proofread it a bit, and can we add something to it, because it wasn't looking that good. So it doesn't look like actually like it came from like a professional agency. Of course, then you can always say like, oh, maybe they did it on purpose to make it not look like a professional agency. So now you're thinking in the way of like, trying to suss out, is it a jelly bean or is it an organic blueberry? And so that would be an example of like something true that is the area that sometimes these firms also try to get into and have a voice in. That's a nice way of saying it. So are there firms like this? Yes, in Korea. Is there a market leader? Yes. And did she choose that one? Yes. And are they expensive? Absolutely. No individual hires a firm of this caliber. It's only corporations or companies that can afford the fees. I've only seen it once in my life. And if you go back to my YouTube channel and you see a video that I did with one of the producers of Friends, and he had a passion project and a documentary that he brought to Korea. And he actually is just an individual or very small, this movie is just a very small media project, but he hired like, I was surprised. He hired like a PR firm that was like it's like for Samsung, it's for like LG, it's for like the big corporations, and he hired. So it's not impossible, and if you just have the money, and if they have like the fit with their staff, then they will definitely take clients like this. So it's definitely within the realm of possibility for Min Hee-jin to not be a one-woman show. And already it looks like that with the way that she already had this company organize her press conference. So it's just a question. Now people are asking, is that all they did? And if that is not all they did, and they went all the way down to her wardrobe and her speech and even the curse words that she, made, and then online viral campaigns and, all these like hit pieces and influencing journalists, then that bill is big. So did she use Adore money for that? Or is she promising something in the future because something very lucrative might happen if she succeeds with her plan? I think that's something that Hive needs to dig out and perhaps see if that fits under some sort of legal, clause that shows that she actually did act against the interests of Adore. Definitely against the interests of Hive, and maybe that part of the whole legal strategy can be filled up with a lot of evidence. And then also to see like, okay, even though she says she might have done this for Adore, like, isn't it sort of like suicide if it's like 80% Hive owns your company and then you attack Hive? Aren't you attacking 80% of your company? So I don't know why that argument can't work. But of course, it's all about whatever is somebody had an idea before to put in the law books, and if it's not in there, then can't do it. And if the judge is not going to interpret it in a way where something might have been similar in the past, where it would favor Hive, then can't do it. But there's all sorts of shadiness, and essentially that is a brief, I think, way of describing how a media play is structured in terms of who helps you. It's not going to be an advertising agency, and it's not even going to be a regular PR firm. So the PR expert that I talked to, I asked like, okay, so if you had somebody come from the agency that Min Hee-jin hired, and they said that, oh, we don't want to work with that agency anymore, can you do the same thing for us that they did? She said they don't do that. So there is a difference. Now, it could be a little bit that they might not have that department really built up in Korea per se, because let's say like if you do have a public affairs practice, that's the kind of the code word, the key word, public affairs, they generally, that's where the overlap would be, I think, from a traditional PR agency that has public affairs, because they're trying to influence the government, they're trying to influence the public, they're trying to influence people with power. And then they probably might have a limit, and then we're like, but I want to go, I want viral campaigns, I want all sorts of snake in a blue hat stuff. Then you would hire some other people that would specialize in things like that, and have former government officials on your roster, even lawyers on your roster for your staff, in order to be able to influence. So another way that I describe it is sort of like, if it's like advertising, you are making yourself as attractive as possible to appeal to maybe like a date. And then if you are like getting engaged or something, a PR firm, like in that way, you would just be kind of saying like, we're good, like this person is a good person. You would have your friends and family vouch for you. So that would be sort of like traditional PR, to be like, yeah. But then let's say that the parents of your partner were just like, nope. In order to influence them, that is what this whole non-market strategy would be. Because basically the other ones are in the market, it's like you're influencing, the target is essentially your fiance who's, trying to convince to say yes. And then if it's the parents of the fiance that are saying no, they're not marrying you. But so that's why it's not a market exchange. Like that's not the exchange there, because you're not marrying the parents. But without the parents' support or blessing, the exchange as in like the exchange of marriage vows between the two partners cannot happen. So all of the best, relationship thing, all the planning, it would not matter if the parents don't say yes. And so that is power. So the parents have a lot of power in that situation. And in other situations, if the government has a regulation, they just say no, then a company can't do anything. So then you have all these other firms that start to manage the people who make the decision happen or possible. And so you would hire, I guess, somebody, and then they would have like some sort of messaging to the parents, negative and positive. Why are you so old-fashioned, or don't you want grandkids, or don't? So it's like kind of more psychological. That's not necessarily about like on the surface, like you should say yes. So in that sense, that would be the level of marketing that does exist in this world for a price. So it's a question of how much of that was utilized in this situation with Hybe. And I think we're just gonna find out a lot more, because it's not a secret anyway, because there have been a lot of news reports saying that this consulting group has worked with Min Hee-jin, and I believe they've even worked with Hybe. So that's why I'm saying it's more like I would be more interested in hearing whether Hybe would hire them again, or whether they feel like way too much betrayed. Because if it was just organizing the press conference, they'd probably be like, okay, whatever. But I don't think that firm would just organize a press conference, because that can be handled by a much cheaper, much basic level PR firm, or even like a publicist that you might hire. And so it's a little bit weird that, if you say like, oh, that they just organized the press conference, because it's not enough money for them, just to be frank, for them to take on that type of a client or work. And so I would really want to know if the Hybe executive team would ever hire, or even let's say just in the near future, if they're fuming or burned up by this, whether they would hire that firm or not. I think that would be most telling, and that would be more of an answer to me of, did something, did they bring out the cauldron and start stirring? All right, guys, what do you think? Put your comments below. Remember to like, share, and subscribe. And we'll see you again next time. Bye-bye.